Good morning. I'm here to show you a little bit about MySQL database. One of the more interesting aspects of MySQL, as you can see, I'm running this on a Linux Peppermint 3 version, and it's also running on a netbook. That's 2 gig of RAM, 120 gig hard drive, and 1 Atom processor running at a very low megahertz rate. So that demonstrates its cross-platform compatibility and its scalability, which makes it more interesting than what we've been dealing with SQL Server. Now, to open it up to work with MySQL, just like with Microsoft SQL Server, you have to use a management system. Our equivalent to the SQL Server Management Studio is the MySQL Workbench. You can find under here under Programming. I'll wait for that to come up. Now, this is divvied up into 3 sections. It's one of the more clunkier aspects, I think, of the interface over SQL Server or Microsoft SQL Server. You have to go to different areas to handle different aspects: server administration, setting passwords, etc. Data modeling, where you can actually reverse engineer and synchronize schemas and such. And then SQL development, where you build your databases. One of the more interesting things is they differentiate between database, which is the database server. In my case, this is Bob, which is on the local server, and what we normally call a database, they call a schema. So to get started, I'm going to start with SQL development, and we'll come over here and we'll open up our connection to Bob and start playing around with that. As you can see, I've set security. Be as complex or as simple as you'd like. I chose simple. Open that up. And that brings up our SQL editor. Now you can see I started to create our library database, but for our demonstration purposes, I really can't use this one because I haven't populated it yet. There's supposed to be a way to import the Microsoft SQL databases into MySQL and vice versa, go the other direction. I just haven't been able to figure that one out yet. But for our purposes, I created a simple one called CPSC 2100, and we'll play with that one. Now, right off the bat, you can see you've got the files where you can create and open models, etc. You've got where you can create a new icons, where you can create a new schema, or as like I said, database. You can just open up a SQL script file, or create a new open up a tab for just creating queries, and just the various operations you can do. The stored procedures, it does allow you to create, they call them routines. We call them stored procedures. I haven't done that one yet. That might be something we play with here. Now, I've created a fairly simple table. Like I said, I've created a fairly simple database. See, we've got columns. For this one, it's computers. We'll just select the top 1,000 rows. We've got IBM, HP, Compaq, Nailing, just different types of computers. Very simple. And then under software, we've got select the top 1,000 rows. You can see each time it executes the SQL up above and shows you the results down below. And Microsoft Office, McAfee, and AVG. That was one of the more interesting aspects. And I've created a hardware section. And just for giggles, just to demonstrate how to create a table, I'm going to go ahead and drop that by clicking on it and dropping it, and then we can close that out, and we will now create a new hardware table. And as you go along, you can see where it opens up a new tab for each section you work, and you can close those out. We're worrying about creating a new table. We'll call this table hardware, and it's attached to the schema of CPSC 2100. You can enter comments if you want. Basically, I'm not going to worry about it so much on this one. And it starts you off with your first column name. it defaults to column ID, or an ID column, ID hardware for some reason. I like our schema and the way we've been doing it with hardware ID, so that's what I'm going to go with. Data type integer. It's a primary key. You have to double click on that for some reason. It just seems, and auto insert for the number. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. I'm still figuring that out. And we'll create another column. Call it hardware type. And it's variable character. And defaults, and just to show you, this is where you can select the various types. It's not quite as user-friendly as a Microsoft is, but you can still cover just about everything you want in it. And like I say, this is the second most popular database on the internet, just because if nothing else it's open source software, therefore cheaper to use in a lot of ways. We'll create our final column. We're going to try and create a foreign key. Just for giggles, we're going to call this one comp ID. Very original there. And we know this is going to be integer data. And we're going to leave it at that. Now we're going to just apply this straight rather than actually apply the foreign key at this time. I want to make sure it'll work. So there, it's created our little hardware table with all its columns. Now one of the things I've discovered is to set a foreign key, you have to go down here into the tabs down below, and for some reason it calls the foreign key not by the column you're using, but by the hardware, or by the name you want it to be, and it will have fits if you try to change it. Now the reference table and the index columns, and then we apply it. And there's the SQL that it uses. Apply and close, and now we have a foreign key attached to hardware. Simple as that. Next, we're going to go ahead and execute a query, I think, just to demonstrate that. And we're going to keep it, again, this is just demonstration purposes, so we're going to keep it simple. It's going to be a quick select statement. I'm going to select everything from comp. One of the things I've discovered is that it is case sensitive, where comp, let's see, I'm going to go down and, so I can never remember what the comp column, equals, and we're going to look for all those that are HP. Like, see, I don't know if, let's try this out. Let's do it lowercase here, because I don't know if that'll work. And then if we want to execute it, we click on the quick and simple lightning bolt, and there you have it. It pulls up one selection that's HP. Like I say, quick and simple, works pretty much the same as it does in MS SQL. So I understand that there's a few syntactical differences. One of the things they point out is it won't do full joins, whereas Microsoft SQL will, and neither one of them are full implementations of the SQL standard. But we're going to call that good. We're going to discard the changes here. We're going to go out, and I'm going to demonstrate next. Click on our home, bring us up here, data modeling. Always a neat thing. I can open up an existing EER model, which the ones I have available are here. Show you my library, and show you all the connections. What's neat, if you set it up right in the tables, or when you create it, it will do all this automatically. but you can also add your own connections, etc. And there should be a way to reverse it backwards as well. Change the schema around on here and then reverse it back into the database. I haven't figured that one out yet. There's a lot I haven't figured out. We're going to create an EER model from an existing database. See if it'll let us do that. I have had some problems with it crashing here, so we're going to have to wait and see. And it looks like we might have had our crash. Let's see, that's the problem with running it on such a small machine. But the nice thing about a Linux machine is I can go down, close the window, and start up a new instance. And seems how it's giving me fits about closing. And let's see, orphaned, we're just going to ignore that. We're going to create an EER model from an existing database. You just got to select your connection, which, as we pointed out, is Bob. It's going to ask for the password, and there you go. And then we select our schema, which is going to be CPSC 2100, and click Next. It's retrieved everything successfully. Click Next, and it's going to import all the objects, table objects, and is executing the SQL stuff to do it. And it's done. Now you can see it's already created all the connections for you. All you've had to do was open it up. Quick and simple, to the point. It's one of the features I really kind of like about it. And of course, because I did that and didn't save it, it's not going to show up here. But that gives you a quick demonstration of that. We can create a new EER model. So we'll save the pending document, and we'll call it CPSC 2100. And save it under our databases folder just for giggles. And we're going to replace it anyway. And again, this is still trying to close out. Looks like that crashed. And like I say, bear with me. It's a small, sad little machine that really shouldn't be used for doing this sort of thing. We're going to add a diagram, and we can create, all you do is you drag and drop. It's as simple as that. Here it is. Schema, default, basically just all the settings you need. And because I didn't connect, it's not there. So let's go back to our home, create a new EER model. We won't save, and it crashed on me. Hopefully during my classroom presentation it won't do that as much. Now we'll try and create it from a new EER model. Basically, you're creating it wants to create a whole new schema here. Table 1, we'll call that hardware. And add another table. We'll call computer. because basically we're just creating a brand new database here, and now we'll add a diagram. And you can drag and drop the tables over. And as we have each hardware can only be attached to one computer. And like I say, it's pretty simple. Of course, you have to add columns to your table, so you have to edit. Well, I think I'm going to stop there for now. Obviously, I'm having problems. But you can see where it works nicely. And, like I say, the database is a little on the clunky side. Dismiss the orphan document. And under server administration, like I said, you can create, tells you all the information about your server, its load, which you can tell I'm maxing out pretty hard. And it's a poor little machine. We can start up and shut down. And I can stop it. And we can export our data. And I haven't, like I say, I haven't figured out how to do that to a Microsoft database and run it backwards. And of course, you've got all the documents across the top, places to get help, utilities, and so on. I'm not going to cover all that, but I think that gives you a basic overview of the idea of how it works. It is honestly fairly simple. It's not as complicated, and if I was running it on a bigger machine, you'd see it works a lot better. But hopefully this gives you an idea of how to play with it, and an interest in trying it out. And that's where I'm going to leave it for now. Thank you and goodbye.